Hey guys, TJ Lawton here, and today I'm back with another video extending on that Rhythmic math video I made the other day. People seem to really enjoy that, so I'm going to go into another concept from Unlocking the Groove, which is the book I mentioned in the first video. And today we're going to look at the length of the loops and how they work to create textural layers and variation, while you can have something that sounds repetitive but also varied at the same time, which I know if you've been doing music production for a while, that's like the holy grail of what you want to be doing with rhythms. Um, if you haven't watched that first video yet, I'm going to link it above now. You should watch that first, otherwise this isn't going to make any sense, or at least very little sense. So let's get into it. I'm going to turn off these channels first of all, and I'm just going to show you I've got a kick drum playing in a 4-bar loop. Nothing too crazy. And then I've got my first channel here, which is a half-bar loop. So it's a rhythm that's set up as a 3 and 8 with S minus 2 shifted back to, so it sounds like this against the kick. And that just loops every 2 bars, every 2 beats, so half a bar. And it's very repetitive. It's a good rhythm, but it's very repetitive. After like 4 rotations of that, you're like, okay, this is boring now. I've heard this, right? And this is where people might think, well, I'll do some automation, I'll do some pitching and stuff like that. That stuff's really good to spice things up. However, with Unlocking the Groove, a lot of that music was made back in the 90s, didn't have those kind of things, nor did they have the tools to do automation. So they had to rely on creating these varied stacks of rhythm and coming up with mathematical ways of doing it. Although I don't think they probably were doing actual math. They were just figuring this stuff out and what sounded good. So that's our half bar loop. And now I've got a combination of 2 different rhythms here. I've got a 7 and 16, which sounds like this. And then it's followed by a 5 and 8, but it does it twice, so that makes it balanced. It completes like a loop. And together it sounds like this. And if I add that in with everything now, you'll hear that what's going on is this very repetitive half bar rhythm is going to sound less repetitive because now it's being contained within a rhythm that's happening over 2 bars rather than half a bar, and it's going to have variation. For example, the notes that are stacking here are going to be different from the notes that are stacking here, and it's going to create different textures. And that's going to make it more interesting. Now that's a 2-bar loop now, you could say, but then after like say 3 or 4 bars, that's now going to be boring. It's too repetitive if you're just repeating that. So I've created a third rhythm, which is a 4-bar loop. So this starts out as a 3 in 32, followed by a 6 and 16, and I do that twice. Kind of similar to this one, but it's just like double the length basically, and it's a slightly different rhythm. So the 3 in 32 sounds like this. And then the 6 in 16 sound like this. And together they sound like this. Now, as you can see, this is a 4-bar loop. So essentially now, these stacking of rhythms are never going to repeat until after 4 bars, which means now you've got something that's very repetitive, but texturally it keeps changing up till 4 bars and then it repeats, so it becomes very varied and interesting. So like for example, this section here is different to this section here, and this section here is different to this section here because of the rhythms, the way they're stacking. And I'm using very basic sound at the moment. You can imagine like this could be a bass line, your favorite bass line sound. This could be like a lead sound. And feel free to come in as well and like, pitch these notes up if you want to make a melody, but I'm just trying to explain the basic rhythm at the moment. So now, all together, it will sound something like this. Now, apart from the sound design, which sounds a bit too basic, you can hear that the rhythms are changing all the time. They sound varied, sound interesting, and it's going to really suck you in and become more engaging. You might disagree with that, but because it's a very subjective thing, And I would say go away and create your own rhythms until you find a combination that sounds really good to you. But you can see how what I'm trying to explain here, the concept is depending on the size of the loops of the rhythms, how long it takes for that rhythm to complete a rotation. In this case, half a bar, 2 bar, and 4 bar, you get different stacks of variations that are happening in these microcosms, like here, here, and here. They're all different. They're all a different stack of notes. And they're going to layer in different ways and create different textures. So I mean, look at this. Look how interesting that looks compared to this as well. There's like a whole different thing going on here. Just by selecting the notes, I can see there are different rhythms forming down here in the clip. And that's really interesting to look at. You can say like, yeah, there's some sort of mathematical pattern happening, right? And that's what keeps your rhythms interesting and keeps your music varied and stuff like that, because then you've got these rhythms of different sizes. Anyway, I think I've explained that as best I can. Hope you've enjoyed the video. If you have any questions, please let me know. If you want any more videos like this, because there's lots more from Unlocking the Groove we can go into, just let me know in the comments section. If you found this useful, please let me know. It'd be great if you could like and subscribe. And yeah, thanks a lot. I'll see you guys tomorrow.